5, 4, no, try that again. How about 8, 7, 6, 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Nashua Community Roundtable. I'm your host, David Lyle. I'm here tonight with Police Chief Andrew Lavoie and the Executive Director of the Great American Downtown, Paul Shea. I want to welcome you both to the show. And usually we talk politics, but because we got great people here, we're going to talk a little bit more community service and community engagement and how we enhance the city. And that's going to be very important because, well, it's all about building community. So, Chief, let's get a little bit of your background and how you got to where you are.
Sure. I started with the Nashua Police Department 31 years ago. I got hired as a patrolman like everyone else does. Worked the street, worked patrol, worked detectives, worked the POP unit. Was promoted to sergeant, and as a sergeant, over the years I worked, again, patrol, detectives, commanded the POP unit. Made lieutenant, and worked in the detective bureau as a division supervisor. Then subsequently made captain. I worked in patrol and professional standards. And then I was lucky enough to make deputy chief, and after 3 years as deputy chief, I was promoted to chief on January 1st of 2015. And that's where I'm at now.
Excellent. And Paul, let's get a little bit of your background.
So my background professionally is actually nursing. So I went to Revere University, have a bachelor's in science and nursing. But when I was there, I really enjoyed kind of engaging the campus community through the Student Nurses Association. Through my career, ended up getting involved with various projects like Gate City Community Gardens and involved with arts groups. And from there, I saw this organization and really was inspired by the mission and interested. When the job opened up, I applied and ended up stepping away from nursing to join Great American Downtown, and been with the organization for about 3 years now. I think maybe in about 2 or 3 days, that'll be my 3-year hire anniversary. So I've been doing it for a little bit, and I feel like we're catching a good stride.
Excellent. And when we're talking about downtown and we're talking about community service, we recently had this past December, we had the holiday stroll. What goes into what does it take to get something like that to be successful? What level of coordination is there necessary between Great American Downtown and the police department and the various first responders?
Extensive coordination. We have a series of citywide meetings with all involved city departments, led by Justin Cates, who's been a great resource and partner in producing that event and all the other events that we do throughout the year. Holiday Stroll, which I think you'd agree is an exceptional challenge to ensure that we are creating a safe environment, a fun environment, but above all safe. And that's where fire and police come in, especially importantly in the work that we do, and their partnership is essential.
Yeah, I can certainly echo what Paul said. I mean, it's basically takes virtually the whole year, the whole next year to plan, the event. We have a tremendous amount of assets deployed. Again, you can only imagine putting that many people into one, what pretty much is one space. I mean, you can have 30, 40, 50,000 people all in one spot. And, the logistics of that are really, really challenging to us. But, we're very lucky in a city like this. I mean, we have tremendous stakeholders, all our bureaus and departments and City Hall and Great American Downtown. We all have a very good working relationship, so we're able to get it done, and we're able to put the assets we need out there.
All right. If somebody had an idea on a event they wanted to hold downtown, how would they approach the Great American Downtown or the police department to find out if it's feasible or if it's doable?
So for Great American Downtown, we're always open to hearing from folks. We have helped the Richelieu Club with the French Cultural Festival. We've worked with Representative Latha Manjaputi and the Indian community to produce events. So we're always open to hear and partner where appropriate to bring things about. In general, the permitting process, there's a lot of layers to it. So to produce an event, there's a good bit of work that goes into it, depending on the scope, of course. It could be as simple as a park reservation, but it could be as complex as requiring the rerouting of traffic, the involvement of police detail in various things. And one of the great things that has come out of the event planning process at the city level is this special events committee that meets on an occasional basis. And so if someone has a complex event that they'd like to run, they can send an overview of that event concept to special events at nashuanh.gov. And then that will go on to the relevant city department head so that they can review and provide input.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you guys get a chance to really read the Telegraph, but in the, I believe it was in the main section on the last page 8, there was an image of an accident that happened the other day on Main Street. Is that something that the police are looking into, or because I know several times I've been trying to cross Main Street and I've seen people just fly right by me as I'm even in the crosswalk. Is that something that you guys might be able to talk about, how we can be a little bit safer when people are driving through the city?
Sure. I mean, there's really not many opportunities in Nashua to drive without traffic. We're certainly obviously the Gate City. We certainly have a ton of different things going on in Nashua. We have plenty of employment opportunities. People even working outside of Nashua, they reside in Nashua, so you got traffic going both ways. Main Street's very heavy pedestrian-wise as well. I mean, there's certainly crosswalks and barrels and lighting and everything, but oftentimes people ignore the no talking on your cell phone, no texting, and things like that. And certainly when you're traveling at any speed, anytime you take your eyes off the road, your vehicle's still traveling in that direction, which people seem to forget. So it's challenging because there's just a ton of traffic in Nashua, and the odds are the more traffic you have, there's more opportunity to get in a motor vehicle accident. But certainly any accident, in any main artery of the city, we do our best to get it cleared as soon as possible. The only time you really run into where it's got to stay is if it's somebody seriously injured or there's a crime involved, and then literally that lane of traffic, the vehicles involved actually become crime scenes, and they can't go anywhere. And we have accident reconstructionists that work right in the police department. We have to reconstruct that entire accident, to be able to present it in court, which could be two years down the road. So literally, that could take hours. So we really hope those don't occur ever, or if they do, they're not on a main artery, not during rush hour or anything like that. But it does happen, and we just have to handle those situations as they come.
So we should be a little bit more attentive to the road and put the phones down.
Most definitely. Well, it's illegal to drive. It's a summonable offense.
Okay. Talking about recruitment into the police, you said you started off as a patrolman.
Mm-hmm.
What would it take for a resident of Nashua to become an officer?
Well, there's a very long process, and they certainly don't have to be residents of Nashua. They can reside anywhere. They just have to be a U.S. citizen. They have to be 21 years of age. There's an application they fill out. We run tests probably 4 times a year. We test, and you'll test with hundreds of candidates, and we do the physical test right then and there. We do the written test first, which takes about 2.5 hours. It's not a police test. We don't expect you to be a police officer. It's more of a general knowledge test. It's graded right then and there, so if you pass that, you move on to the physical ability test. We do this at Nashua High South, and we just make you hit the standards that the academy requires you to. Anybody that wants to be a police officer, you have to pass those. I mean, if you can't, you most definitely shouldn't be a police officer anyway. I mean, they're very basic. And then you'll get what's called an oral board interview with us, and we start that. The test will be on a Saturday. On a Monday, we start oral boards. So, it's usually a very small percentage, though. I mean, if we have, we used to have 300, 400, 500 people show up for our test, probably even within 2 or 3 years ago. We used to run 2 sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. It's just a completely different time now. I mean, it's let's be honest, it's a dangerous time, not a great time to be a police officer in America. Officers are getting executed sitting in their cruisers and things like that. And it's a different generation of person. And, maybe police work's not upmost in their mind. So, now we're lucky if we get 150 people. And we just had a test, back in August, we got 152 people, and we ended up hiring one. So our percentages we hire, we don't try to do this, it just always works out. We end up hiring about 2% of the people that test with us. But we'll lose a huge majority in the written tests. We'll lose a few in the physical agility, and then after the oral boards, and then they start an odyssey of testing and interviews and polygraph, psych exam, background check. I mean, it takes months, but it should. I mean, we're basically giving you what amounts to ultimate power at least once. So we need to be very cognizant of how we do that. And when you think about it, no matter how much you do it, we're very good at it. It's still an art. It's not a science. So I mean, until an officer has a couple of years on, you really don't know what you have. I mean, you can assume and you can look and say based on their background, based on their training we give them, they're going to be fine, but you just never know. And they have to prove themselves. So it's a very long process. It would take literally most of the show for me to explain all of it. But I can assure you, and I say this in my hiring speech, every time we swear these officers in, I get a book that thick on every single candidate. And that's every interview, every neighbor we've talked to, every person that knew them and knew their coaches, friends, cousins, uncle, we interview in person. And I honestly know more about them than their parents do. There's just a lot of things you just don't tell mom and dad. And you have to tell us. And so that's a very real thing. So I can at least assure you they're properly vetted. It's a long process, and it should be.
Okay.
I just want to say that the extent of the process that they go through, it shows, and the quality of the officers that we work with and see out and about downtown. It's quite apparent that they're selective, and we appreciate all the work that they're doing out there.
Appreciate that.
So what would it take to become a part of the Great American Downtown?
We have lots of opportunities for engagement. We have volunteer opportunities. From time to time, board opportunities come up. So we have a big event coming up. It is April 21st is our next big volunteer opportunity. That's our Downtown Parks Cleanup Day. And we'll have sign-up information available for that through our newsletter that comes out each week, the Downtowner. Last year, I think we had about 350 people out for that event, and we're able to clean up the entirety of the rail trail, Nashua Public Library grounds, the River Rail Trail, or the River Trail, River Walk, as well as a couple pocket parks up in French Hill and in the Tree Street. So, that is a big one, and we can definitely scale up to do more along the river and out in Mine Falls. So, if people are interested in volunteering for that, we'd be happy to have them. On an ongoing basis, we have people reach out that are interested in either internships or volunteer opportunities. Working with a couple of, I'll be meeting with a couple of students from Riviere in this coming week to bring on some new marketing interns, which will be great. So the short answer is ask. We're glad to have more people engaged, and even if somebody has an idea that they want to bring to life, we're happy to help with that too.
Okay, and with the upcoming event on the 21st of April, what is there any area in particular going to be focusing on, or is it going to be generally all the parks and the rail trails?
So the core is the rail trail. The rail trail is a huge piece of parkland. It's about 1.2 miles, if I recall. It's about 1.2 miles from City Hall all the way out through the highway, and so we focus there. It's a lot of ground to cover. It's a big help to Park and Recreation as they do their spring cleanup. When the snow melts, all of a sudden, everything emerges. So all the detritus from the fall into the winter, fallen limbs, trash, etc., emerges. And so we start there, and depending on how many people show up, we scale out to other areas.
Excellent. When it comes to community engagement, what is one of the best ways that Nashua Police Department or Great American Downtown works with the community to let them know that that you're here and you're able to be part of the community.
Well, I mean, with the police department, I mean, we're certainly involved in virtually every aspect of the city. I mean, from different boards and organizations and civic, organizations. We have officers on all their board of directors. We have officers that tremendous volunteer through Special Olympics and all different other charities. But we're also involved in many different things because it's the moving parts involve the police department. When you're trying to run certain things, you need the police, and we're certainly part of the decision-making process. Paul talked about when anybody wants to do anything. I mean, you certainly have the permitting process, and it certainly goes through. We have every aspect. I issue one day. Myself and the fire chief have to sign off on one-day liquor licenses for wine tastings and things like that. So certainly, we reach out to the community that way. We have 33 crime watch groups. We just started another one on Arlington Street last night. So we're extremely invested in the community. Nashua Community Conversation at Race and Justice. I mean, My Brother's Keeper. We just opened the community center on Arlington Street through that with the mayor's office and My Brother's Keeper. So again, the Nashua Police Department is interwoven with the community, and that's how it should be.
I'd say the community policing component with the Nashua Police Department is strong. The just candid moments that I get sent to me in pictures or see from photography from events. We have a really lovely photo of one of the sergeants shaking hands with a little girl at one of our music festivals that our photographer captured. There's a great shot of one of the officers playing on one of the street pianos late night, and that was a great moment to see. Caught that on Twitter, just those moments of spontaneous connection in the line of duty are just so important in the relationship between the police and people in Nashua, and they're doing that work well.
Okay. I just want to let our viewers out there know that we are still live on YouTube. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat, and I will do my best to get those out to Paul Shea and Chief Lavoie. And let's move into the community service. Are there any community service requirements that the officers need to do on a regular basis, or is once they're hired, that's all considered community service?
Yeah, I mean, certainly their entire job is community service, but they get paid for that. We don't require, any community service. I will say at least 75, 80% of our officers are involved in some way with PAL. Obviously the Police Athletic League is huge in Nashua and has been since approximately 1990. I mean, all the officers are involved in coaching street hockey, coaching basketball, coaching baseball, the PAL football program, cross country, everything you can think of. The officers stop by and help the kids studying at the PAL Center and things like that. Plus, they're all, everybody, is involved in their own way. I mean, some are heavy fundraising for different organizations due to the fact they've been touched by that in their family. I mean, we have a couple of officers that they each had a child that was born with a heart issue. So, thankfully that was fixed at Children's Hospital, and they've since become, tremendous supporters fundraisers for that certain type of, heart disease. Again, Special Olympics is near and dear to a lot of our officers' hearts, and they spend a tremendous amount of time doing that. So, certainly we don't require it, but I just don't think you can do this job without, wanting to be involved and being involved.
And I'd be remiss in this moment if I didn't recognize Lieutenant Carrie Baxter, who serves on our board of directors. We're glad to have her back. It's typically a second shift lieutenant who's a part of our board. So Rob Gigi
Yep.
and Thomas Bolton have both served on the board in my time with the organization, and having that engagement is important. We have someone from the fire department, someone from the mayor's office to ensure that we're kind of watching each other's back as we go along conducting our mission.
It's nice to have the person there to answer the question rather than have to, when everyone's all in one room, you can go, okay, I have a police question, fire question, whatever, and it's nice to have that.
Super helpful, yeah.
All right. On Paul, what aside from the April 21st cleanup event,
Yeah.
what else you have coming down the pipeline this year that we should be aware of?
Can I break out my cheat sheet? 'Cause
Of course.
I've got I cannot remember all the dates. So we'll go through the summer. We won't get too far, but uh, Great American Downtown on May 5th. We have the New Muse Festival and the street piano rollout. So we do a total of 3 street pianos. The New Muse Festival, we expect high attendance this year, and so we are doing a ticketed event process. Even though it's free to attend, folks should go online and sign up for tickets. We've had a total of 800 claimed in the first week that tickets have been live, so it's pretty. They're moving quickly. So folks go to downtownnashua.org/NUMUSE. They can get tickets there. We also have the Taste of Downtown that'll come up on June 6th. Tickets for that will go on sale mid-April. That's our biggest fundraiser event of the year. We have about 30 restaurants set up in retail locations, and people get to stroll around downtown and try dishes from up to 30 restaurants if they have the room in their stomach. Most people drop out at about 15. Some champs will make it past 20 locations. And the Nashua Farmers Market is opening on June 17th. We host that market every week from June through October. And so opening day is Father's Day. We accept SNAP EBT at the market with Market Match, which is a good resource for the community. We also, I just uploaded a video of our annual meeting, as well as the full list of save the dates for the big events. Not just ours, but the New Hampshire Bacon and Beer Festival, Gate City Marathon, and several others that take place, Downtown Arts Festival with positive street art. So people go to downtownnashua.org, scroll to the bottom. They'll find the latest blog post that says save the date, and that's the one. So they'll be able to check that out and find links for about 20 different events that take place over the course of 2018.
What was that site again?
Downtownnashua.org, and right down towards the bottom, there's a little window with 3 blog posts in it. The most recent one says save the date. Click on that, and that'll bring up the full listing of major events that are taking place in the downtown, all the way through to the 25th annual holiday stroll, which is this year.
Okay. And are there any events the police have to help promote themselves throughout the community coming up, or?
Well, not really to promote ourselves, but we do. You can check our website, www.nashuapd.com. On our website, we offer civilian response to active shooter. Certainly, since that tragic school shooting in Florida, those are filling up, and what that is our field, our firearms training unit will host at the police department, and it's usually on a Saturday, and it's for about 4 hours. Train any citizen that wants to come, that we can fit in certainly, and train them on what you should do if you encounter an active shooter, because an active shooter can be anywhere, obviously. I mean, it doesn't have to be at a school. So certainly, you need to have a plan. And as what Officer Elliott says, that one of the ones that teaches is hope is not a plan, and you just have to have some idea. And there's some trauma first aid involved as well that we teach, and it's all free. So certainly check our website for that. We do it probably every month or so, and again, our RAD class, which is Rape Aggression Defense. That's a class that again is taught at no charge. It's multiple weeks. It's once a week for probably about 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks, and that's basically it's geared toward females, and it's a self-defense class, and it's taught by all our instructors are certified. So these are things we offer to the community for free. We'll come talk to anybody, about any topic. I'll come talk to anybody about any topic. I've spoken to groups of 2, if you can call that a group, or groups of 200. I mean, it certainly doesn't matter. That's what we're there for. And our website, our senior relations, person, Jane Constant, she teaches, elderly driving, but it's AARP senior driver's course. She is It's constantly at the senior center, literally every single day. She checks in at the station, heads to the senior center, and she teaches constantly about fraud and all the scams going on and things like that. So, again, check our website out, and we offer a myriad of different things to help the community. That's all certainly at no charge.
Okay. Well, I know that we could probably go the whole show as well on active shooter engagement.
Sure.
What are just would you say are the like the top 3 tips you'd give individuals when they encounter an active shooter situation?
Sure. I mean, school's different. At school, the superintendent certainly, there's plans in place, and that protocol needs to be followed. But if you're out, just as a citizen, I mean, it sounds simple, but be aware of your surroundings. Always know whether there's an exit. I mean, I know that's perceived as a cop thing, but trust me, my family's grown up through it so many times that over 31 years, that my wife and kids, wherever they're at, they always checking exits. What's the best way to get out of here? Because the civilians don't get paid to be a hero. It's not your job. Your job is to stay alive. So if bullets start flying, it's always a good idea to go away from the bullets. And that may sound simple, but people get sensory overload and they freeze. And you can't freeze. You have to have an idea. And I mean, it can be something as simple as go the opposite direction as fast as possible. Take off. Get out of there. Find someplace. Away from the person.
So even if you're armed, just don't pull. Just
well,
run.
I don't want to. If I get into that, I'm angering 50% of my constituents and
Yeah.
making 50%. All I can say is this: the average citizen, certainly if you're unarmed, get out if you can. You don't get paid to do this. Even a person that is armed, that doesn't mean they're trained. And they may be the best shot in the world, and they have every right to carry a gun. New Hampshire says you do, under certain circumstances. But keep in mind, the police officers coming there don't know who you are, and you're standing there holding a gun in an active shooter situation. But again, we've had people, certainly save the day, citizens by using a legal weapon that they had. So, I certainly, I'm not going to come down either way on that. I mean, that's a no-win for me. I mean, I represent everybody in Nashua, not just my personal opinion, but the average citizen certainly is not armed. Even in New Hampshire, that's still the case right now. And just get out of there, know what's going on. Find yourself an exit and be aware of what's going on. If you hear popping sounds, you hate to say assume the worst, but if you hear it, you don't need to go investigate it. Go the other way.
Be dialing 911 as you're running.
Obviously, that too. Yeah. Well, get yourself out of there first, and then call 911.
All right. What would you say is the crime rate here in Nashua? I know we're recently listed as as the safest city in the country. When dealing with DWI or checkpoints for driving under the influence. I do apologize. I'm missing a couple of the words there. But DWI checkpoints or DUI checkpoints. What is there? Is that something that's a real issue here in Nashua, or is it more of just if you have to do it, you do it?
Well, I mean, we don't have to do anything. I mean, again, hot button topics. I'm not a politician. I follow the law, and checkpoints are legal. If you do a checkpoint, you have to get a judge's court order to do a checkpoint. There's certainly legislation coming up for a vote, probably very soon, that's trying to outlaw DWI checkpoints. I personally don't. We in Nashua, we don't. Anytime we do them, they're once a year, and they're usually in conjunction with state police because state police has asked for assistance. We don't seek them out and do them ourselves. It's literally a very low percentage of arrests that are made from it, but that certainly doesn't mean it didn't deter a ton of things. You always have that. I mean, you have to publicize the checkpoint, and when people see that, hopefully they're changing their behavior, and that is what it's all about. It's not always just arrests, but as far as the use of manpower, they're legal. When we have them come up, we'll certainly take part in them. But in Nashua, we don't normally decide to do that on our own. We'll do it in conjunction with state police, which we have in the past, not on our own. But I certainly think right now we do it, it's going to be to assist state police.
Okay, and this one's sort of the both of you. This, I believe it was late fall, maybe, or late summer, early fall. We had the Wheels and Wings event over at the airport. Do you guys have any involvement in that event, or is that work done by the airport or a different entity?
Yeah,
So-
I wasn't involved.
Wheels and Wings is a program involved with the summer fund schedule. So the summer fund committee meets on a regular basis. I serve on that committee. There are folks from the airport authority that serve on that committee. And so Wheels and Wings was kind of a evolution of Touch a Truck to provide a great open space where the trucks could be located, but kids could also check out the planes. And some pilots come down and show off what they've got. City departments have vehicles there, and it's a great event. There's usually a movie in conjunction with it the night before. I believe that'll be happening again this year. But kids in the school system should get a Nashua Summer Fun calendar. And if not, that stuff is, of course, available on the web. So Summer Fun includes the Fairy Tale Festival at Greeley Park, Wheels and Wings, movie nights, concerts, information about the farmers market, and all sorts of other good stuff that either Park and Recreation or their partners put on over the course of the late spring into the early fall. And that's a big event. There was a good deal of success with it this year. I was bumped because there was rain on the scheduled date in August, so it was moved to September. And I believe they're looking at doing that in September again this year. That seemed to work out really well.
Excellent.
Now that you mentioned it, I believe we had our mobile command vehicle there. It's one of the vehicles.
Yeah, I did see. I was there this past year, and I think I did see your equivalent of SWAT had a truck there. Your mobile command unit.
We've changed it back to SWAT now because that's what everybody called it. So now we call it SWAT.
Okay.
The longest time it wasn't, but
Got your mobile command truck, which I usually see over at Holman Stadium. I saw that there, and you were letting people basically take a walkthrough tour of it.
absolutely. We do that at the Latino Festival. We do that everywhere we take it. Hey, it's theirs. They bought it. It belongs to the citizens. So.
Is there any new technology that's coming out that the police might be taking advantage of in the coming years that would be of value for the citizens to know that you're going to have? Or
Well, I mean, we run into, a lot of the technology that improvements that we have are kind of internal, whether they be, records management type stuff, very, very non-exciting things, but make our job a tremendous, amount easier. A lot of the radio technology improvements to that and all that stuff. I mean, that certainly it affects the citizens because they're getting a better product. So.
Guys, I am so sorry to interrupt here. What are you seeing on your stream going up?
I am seeing 24 minutes and 3 seconds, 2 seconds.
So, I have some good news and I've got some horrible news. The good news is I caught it with 23 minutes left to go.
Horrible
The horrible
news?
news is that
I had to put a break in.
the horrible news is that the correct cameras have not been recording this entire time.
So my cameras are going to be a little bit off.
Your cameras are going to be completely.
So when I do my
You're
editing.
better off starting again. If we have the time, we're doing a 20-minute show. And I apologize for that, but I just looked at the settings as I walked in, and I could tell something was wrong. So
I had no way of really communicating it. So I saw Dick over there, but I wasn't sure if he was...
We've been recording this camera, that camera, which is the one that's normally says stream starting soon, and
That camera?
it's the data
Oh.
there this entire time. So I have the proper one set except for this at the moment, and I'm going to send that out in just a moment.
Okay, so we're gonna do a little bit of a short show.
Yeah, I mean, I can.
Again, I apologize immensely. But I guess better to catch up with 20 minutes left
Sure.
to go than 0 minutes left to go, right?
Yeah, I have another commitment at 8, so I.
Okay.
I can do the 22 minutes, but I can't.
Yeah, I
do
know.
Another hour.
That's
I
fine.
apologize.
I think I was kind of getting a little stretching on topics just because trying to pull out stretch things a little.
Yeah.
So
Nashua's very safe, by the way,
Oh, I know.
our size, certainly.
I know. I mean, I saw that when I was looking at the Telegraph this morning. I saw the photo of the accident, but there was no article or nothing talking about it.
Yeah, accidents happen all the time.
Yeah, there's you can see on the screen. That's the camera up there.
Oh, that's not bad.
But people were seeing that countdown clock
On the live stream?
Yeah.
Oh, bugger.
Oh,
Oh, good.
stream starting soon.
Yeah. Well, usually that's on that camera right over there. Number 2. Dan, can you still hear us? You can still hear us though, right?
Oh, I can hear you guys, yeah. Yep, and I was just double checking all of the,
Yep.
now we have,
So if you want to send out another blast.
Sure.
do you want to reset it to 30 minutes? Or like 27 or just?
Well, you have a commitment at 8:00. Where?
It's in Merrimack.
Merrimack. So 30 minutes good?
I can do 30.
Yeah, I can do 30.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That was something. Yeah, we don't have any drones or anything like that, so technology-wise.
Actually, I was curious to what the police department's policy on the drones, working with the drones was.
We don't have one yet because we don't have drones, so.
I know. I think there's
Kirk's trying to,
yeah.
he thinks everybody's spying on him.
He thinks that basically drones are. So give me a 10 count when you're ready.
You guys see the clock?
Yep.
On there, right, you're seeing the correct thing there?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, we'll do the intro and everything again.
Sure.
And here we go in 5, 4, 3.
Good evening and welcome to the Nashua Community Roundtable. My name is David Lyle. I'll be your host for the evening. Tonight we are with Police Chief Andrew Lavoie and the Executive Director of the Great American Downtown, Paul Shea. I want to welcome you both to the show. It's going to be a little bit of a short show tonight. We're going to be talking more about community service and community engagement. So, Chief, when you want to give us a little bit of brief background on your history and how you got to where you are.
Sure. I started out as a patrol officer, like everyone does here. I went up through the ranks to sergeant, lieutenant, captain, all in every different area we have in the police department. Detectives patrol. Made deputy chief, and then after 3 years as deputy chief, I became chief. Been chief since January 2015. Personally, I have a master's degree in criminal justice administration, a bachelor's in criminal justice, and I'm in my starting my 32nd year with the Nashua Police Department. My 4th year as chief.
Excellent. And Paul, want to give us a little bit of your background?
So my background, professionally, I'm actually a registered nurse. So I have a bachelor's of science in nursing from Riviera University. I worked as a medical surgical nurse for nearly a decade, and during college, I really enjoyed the community engagement component of my activities. I was the head of the Student Nurses Association, did a lot of events on campus through that, and really enjoyed that work. Did a good bit in Nashua prior to this with Gate City Community Gardens, Visualize Nashua, various arts groups, and when I saw this job open up, I said, man, I'd really love to do that, and applied, and to my surprise and pleasure, they hired me, and been doing this for about 3 years now, and I really enjoyed the work.
Excellent. Now, we had the holiday stroll this past winter. What level of partnership or coordination went into getting that production going?
I'd say a great deal. I mean, it's a tremendous undertaking. Nearly every city department's involved. We have monthly meetings leading up to it, and so for police, they do a great deal to make sure that the event is safe for the 30 to 40,000 people that come out, and there's a good bit that goes into it.
Yeah, I mean, logistically, it's just a tremendous undertaking. I mean, we have so many vehicles and officers committed to it. I mean, we have an action plan that thick. We brief constantly, and certainly our representatives meet with Paul and his crew, and literally every stakeholder you can think of, because there's so many different contingencies and things. Because you can imagine, there could be 40,000 people in one spot. Logistically, that's very tough to control, and certainly when you're worried about safety, which is my job, you think of all the catastrophic things that could happen, and you pray they don't. And thankfully, we've got great people and great stakeholders and great citizens, and it doesn't. But it's my job to worry. It's everyone else's job to have a good time. So.
Okay. Let's talk about recruitment, the Great American Downtown and the Nashua Police Department. What does it take to become an officer of the law? And then, Paul, what does it take to help out the Great American Downtown?
Sure. There's certainly qualifications you have to have to work in the state of New Hampshire. You have to be at least 21 as a police officer. You have to be a U.S. citizen. And then certainly multiple, you can't have a felony conviction. You can't have a misdemeanor conviction within, X amount of years, depending on what it's for and all that stuff. So, I mean, none of that would matter with us. We don't take anybody with any criminal conviction at all. And each police department certainly, they have their standards from there. And, what I mean by that is you're only required to do a psych test and a background. New Hampshire does a polygraph test. We do many, many, many layers of interviews and things of that sort. And just to give you an idea, I mean, you literally have months and months of interviews and testing and background done on you. And honestly, it takes probably about 4 or 5 months of just being in the process before you even find out if you're going to get an offer of employment. And that's just the start of your odyssey. That just means you're going to get hired. I review the package when it's done. It's been through a ton of different people. We have our recruiting division in the Professional Standards Bureau that's their job. So certainly they're very well versed in that. And basically we're looking for the best, the brightest. We don't require a college degree. We don't require military. Yet almost everybody we've hired for the past 4 or 5 years has a college degree and military. I mean, we have people that come in here with master's degrees. We have Green Beret captains from the U.S. Army. I mean, we have, quite an eclectic group, but they're all very, very, very high-end, hard-charging, very, very motivated, self-motivated type of people, because that's what you need in a job like this. I mean, we have some officers that are attorneys. They have law degrees, and they're past the bar. I mean, and they're regular police officers. So it's certainly, we're looking for the cream of the crop, and, that's what we hire. And, certainly because of that, you become an entire department of that. And, and that's what we're looking for, because I certainly think that's what the citizens of Nashua should expect.
I'd just say that the depth of that process in recruitment and hiring, and what do you hire? Maybe 2% of the people that you actually
Right around
see,
there, yeah.
and I think the depth of that shows in what I've experienced working with officers and what we do. To answer your question, Great American Downtown, there's lots of opportunities for engagement. Whether it's volunteering on an occasional basis, we occasionally have board opportunities. We also have sponsorship opportunities if you are a business owner and would like to highlight your business through our events and programs. So the short answer to your question is just ask. We have a newsletter that comes out every week with occasional volunteer opportunities. But if people have an idea of an event that they'd like to bring to life that we might be able to help with or offer some direction on, we're glad to hear about that too. So we like to support people who have a vision for vibrancy that they'd like to share. We've supported the Richelieu Club with the French Cultural Festival a couple of years back that they put on. We've worked with Representative Latha Manjapudi in the Indian community to produce a variety of events, including Bollywood on a Blanket, the celebration of democracy near to Indian Independence Day. So just drop us a line, and the more people that we get on board with our mission and the work that we do, the better off the community is.
Excellent. And I know you've got an event coming up on the 21st.
Yeah.
If you want to give us a little bit of a background on that event and what you're expecting for this year.
So the Nashua Parks, the Downtown Parks Cleanup Day, this will be the fourth year that we do it. We have started small. We had maybe 80 people the first year. This past year, we had in the ballpark of 350 people that came out. So that's on April 21st. We meet that morning at City Hall, but if folks sign up for our newsletter or follow us on Facebook or check our calendar at downtownnashua.org, they can find information on that event. In the coming weeks, we'll be kicking that out. And we, like I said, we started on the rail trail, but this past year with the huge turnout that we had, and the Police Athletic League is a great partner in drawing people in to participate in this. We were able to do the rail trail. We were able to do the library grounds, some of the river walk, as well as some of the pocket parks in the neighborhood, in the Tree Streets and French Hill. So we've really been able to cover a lot of ground, and the more people that we can have at that, the more we can scale up. And when the snow melts in the spring, all of the stuff that has been building up over the late fall and into the winter kind of emerges. So there's a lot of cleanup to do, and all those volunteers help a great deal with the lift that Park and Recreation has to really set them up for success as they maintain our many parks throughout the year.
Okay. Quick question when it comes to the Safe Stations program. Do you have any part in that, or aside from advertising it or talking about it, what is the draws? What does someone need to do if they're like, I need help?
Well, I mean, the reason Safe Stations is set up in all 6 fire stations is the availability. Certainly anybody can go anytime, 24/7, 365. And the biggest thing how it's set up is the immediacy of it. Because when you're ready to do this, you're ready, and that window is like that. And if you don't get help or you get put off, you're just going to go use. You're not going to follow through. So, I'm certainly on the Safe Stations committee, and we talk about this all the time. Is what can we do to ensure that window is respected, and Safe Stations came to fruition from that, and it's certainly a tremendous undertaking by the mayor, by fire department, by AMR, and especially by Harbor Homes. I mean, their response time is amazing. From the time a person comes in to a fire station to the time that they're getting driven away to treatment is like 8 minutes. I mean, and it was 12 minutes, it's down to 8. I mean, that's mind-boggling. That's amazing. The tremendous job that the fire department, AMR, and Harbor Homes does. And certainly as a police department, we're big supporters of that. I mean, everywhere I go, I talk about Safe Stations. We refer people. We're out on the street with these people. We refer them all the time. We'll even drive them, to the Safe Stations if they want to do it. And it helps us because again, people. 99% of people are forced to, handle their misuse by their criminality. So certainly, if we can get people off the street into treatment, it's helping the citizens in Nashua. It's helping the police because they're not out there stealing, doing burglaries and things of that sort. Which, let's face it, they have to do to support their addiction, and that's why we're such big supporters of the drug court. Nashua is very lucky to have a drug court. That in conjunction with the Safe Stations, I mean, you have to have, it's got to be a community. It's got to be, a holistic approach with everybody involved because, again, it's certainly my job to arrest the drug dealers. It's certainly my job to arrest people breaking the laws because it's not your fault as a civilian, as a citizen, if that person has a drug addiction that they point a gun in your face and rob you. That's not your fault. So they need to be prosecuted for that. But the way to make sure they don't have to do that is for us to help them get in the treatment and for us to be involved in that aspect of it. It's not always, enforcement. It's certainly prevention and things like that. And, we can't quantify, how many people we help simply by, locking up a drug dealer. But if you think about it, that drug dealer could have sold 20, 40, 50, 100 people that night. And this is stuff that can kill you one time. So, I mean, we have no idea how many lives we saved by arresting a drug dealer. But because we can't quantify it, but I can guarantee you it's many.
Okay. Have you ever had anyone who may have been in holding who's said, I need help, and would have to then be escorted to a safe station, or?
No, we can't do that because if they're in holding, they're under arrest. So they're certainly, we can't usurp the bail conditions because you're bailed by the court, not by the police. So once you're under arrest, you fall into the jurisdiction of the court, even though you're in our cell. So certainly if they need medical attention, we would take them to the hospital. But we're not we can't take them there in lieu of jail because certainly. The big part about the safe stations is they get treatment immediately. And a lot of them don't need, inpatient treatment. But that we wouldn't be able to do that. So.
Okay. Paul, you want to give us a rundown of what you got coming up this year that we might be able to be aware of? I know you got a little cheat sheet with you tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll break out my cheat sheet. We'll take us into the beginning of the summer because we have perhaps 20 events on this list, and but coming up, Great American Downtown, of course, April 21st. We have the Downtown Parks Cleanup Day. The Gate City Community Garden Program begins then. So folks, if they Google Gate City Community Gardens or check out the page on our website, they'll find a sign-up link if they're interested. We have a 24-bed community garden along the Heritage Rail Trail. On May 5th, we have the New Muse Festival coming up. It's the second year of the festival. That will involve a main stage music festival, an arts market, food trucks, and the rollout of the Nashua street pianos. We also have the Taste of Downtown coming up on June 6th. That's the first Wednesday in June. That event it's our biggest fundraiser of the year, so we, of course, definitely want folks to look out for that one. That event involves 30 restaurants and retail locations set up, and folks with ticket get to go around and try dinner from up to 30 restaurants. Most folks make it to 15 before they get too full, but the champs push past 20, and very few make it to all stops. In any case, it's a great event. Folks should look out for that. And the Nashua Farmers Market opens up on June 17th. That'll run through October, every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We accept SNAP and EBT at the market and do a market match with a partnership with the New Hampshire Food Bank. So folks who swipe SNAP EBT actually double the amount of fruits and vegetables they can buy. So they swipe for $1. Right. We give them $2 worth of tokens, and that's a great resource for the community. Like I said, we have over 20 large events that take place over the course of the year. Not all of them are ours. We partner with a lot of groups to highlight or put on events in various fashions. And we just today uploaded our Save the Date listing of all these big events. I think the first one on there is the City Arts Nashua Mary Goyette Luncheon. They'll be raising money for the Performing Arts Center. And then it goes all the way through to the Holiday Stroll. So this will be the 25th year of that event, if you can believe it. And so downtownnashua.org, slide on down to the bottom of the page, the first blog that says Save the Date. We'll have that full listing so people can put those on their calendar and get ready for a really great year in downtown.
Excellent. Now, with that food tasting event, do you have a little bingo card that people might be able to have to maybe potentially win like a gift card or something to one of the local restaurants?
Yeah, we actually do. So we have a hotspot challenge for that event. The hotspot challenge, it's a 4 location challenge. So typically it'll be Cava Divino, Persian Rug Gallery, and Precision Body Arts. And one other location, probably Design Wares, I think. And so folks get a stamp at each of those locations and they can hand them in. If they make it to all of the hot spots, then they get entered into a raffle to win tickets to the Main Street, the dinner on Main Street. So in September, we do a 300-person, 5-course farm-to-table dinner using produce from our farmers market vendors primarily, along with some great chefs from MT's Local, Surf, Riverside Barbecue, Stella Blue, Fratello's, Jaja Bell's. It runs the gamut. So the whole team of talented chefs comes in, and so that will be the prize to answer your question there. So yeah, but the food and the music are really the focus, and it's a great night out.
Excellent. Now let's get back over to the police department. What is the procedure or what would you say the top 3 things that anyone should do if there's a active shooter? Because we've been having a lot of news about active shooter involvements lately. What would you say are the top 3?
Well, again, most active shooter things, thankfully, do not take place in schools. They take place in other venues, and certainly when you're out and about as a citizen, I mean, it's as simple as be aware of your surroundings. Look at people. I mean, oftentimes somebody's going to walk in with a gun. I mean, certainly that would be, a starter for you to go into action, and your action, can be simply is go the other direction. I mean, that sounds very simple, but it's oftentimes people freeze, and you can't freeze. You have to do something. The biggest thing is know where your exits are at all times, wherever you're at. Know where you are. Know a way to get out of there. I mean, any restaurant you go into, always look for an exit. I mean, it doesn't have to be for an active shooter. It could be for fire. It could be for anything. I mean, you should be able to check that out when you go into a place. But the big thing for an active shooter is get away from the shooting. Don't just cower down, and hope the person doesn't come looking for you. That's really incumbent upon you. No, you need to save yourself. Shootings literally take 3 minutes. They take 6 minutes. If you don't save yourself, the police aren't going to have time to get there to save you. Literally, they're done that fast. So it's on you, and you need to step up, and you need to have an idea what's going on. And the National Police Department actually offers free citizen response to active shooter training. And we do that. It's usually on a Saturday in a 4-hour block. You can sign up on our website, www.nationalpd.com. And again, it's free training. And our firearms training experts will explain to you and go over scenarios with you and tell you some things to be aware of. They'll even cover traumatic, first aid and tourniquet. The biggest thing with first aid is treat yourself first, because you can't help anybody else if you're bleeding out too. So I mean, these are all things that people sometimes they just need to be made aware of that stuff, and they need to be told. And once they're told, they'll go into action, and then they'll be men and women of action rather than people of inaction. But it is the biggest thing is you just have to be aware, and you have to be ready to take action, and there's nothing wrong with that action being taken off, because the average citizen doesn't get paid to solve this. They need to take care of themselves and their family.
Okay, and are there any programs to help with someone who might be getting assaulted to help deal with that?
Sure. I mean, we offer what's called RAD, which is Rape Aggression Defense, and that's actually a training. It's for females, and it's probably one coming up, I think, in April. Certainly check the website. Again, that's offered free of charge to citizens, and that one is a little different. It's I believe they meet at least 4 weeks in the evening for a couple hours, and that ends with a hands-on full fight with a couple of officers dressed up in red man suits, which are the big padded suits, and they're actual fights and a couple scenarios, and you put your training to the test. So it's real life stuff, and again, any idea other than nothing is great, and it's our job to give you those ideas and to give you a plan and to give you some actions to take.
Okay. Are there any, aside from the holiday stroll coming up this year, are there any events that your organizations are going to be partnering on to in the city?
All of them?
Yeah, certainly anything that comes down. I mean, we're all stakeholders. We're all part of it, and there's certain protocols that have to be gone through for a lot of things, even if it doesn't rise to the level of one of the downtown huge functions. I mean, even somebody wanting to do something minor, there's a process through the city clerk's office, and a sign-off sheet literally goes to virtually all the stakeholders that would be involved.
Even a simple park reservation.
Yeah, they can have food. They have to, and they have this many extra things they have to go through, and things of that sort. But we certainly anything greater downtown would be doing. I would imagine we would be a part of.
Okay, well, aside from what we've already discussed, is there any community engagement programs that you'd recommend the residents of Nashua or people visiting Nashua take advantage of?
Well, I mean, certainly with us, every neighborhood not every, pretty much every. I mean, we have, I think 33 neighborhood watch, organizations within the city that certainly are protecting their neighborhoods and looking out in the neighborhoods and see something, say something, and things of that sort. We're very involved in PAL, and certainly every civic organization, in the city usually has a police representative, whether it be Bridges or CASA or all, Harbor Homes, Greater Downtown. I mean, anything like that. So, the police are, interwoven in the fabric of the city, and that's certainly something that, I think the citizens should expect from us, and I hope they appreciate it.
Okay.
If I could,
Of course.
I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize Lieutenant Carrie Baxter, who serves on our board of directors. We're very glad to have her back. The second shift lieutenant is typically the designee to the board. We've had Thomas Bolton and Rob Gigi as well, and they've been a great asset to have. It's always good to have the police engaged with the board to be able to, we have a resource there if any questions come up relative to that, or we need to, run something up to the chief. It's always great to have them involved. We have somebody from designee of the fire department and a designee of the mayor's office as well as part of our it's written into our bylaws, and we really appreciate that.
All right. Where can visitors or residents go to get more information on the Great American Downtown?
So
events?
we've done a great bit. Part of our work is not just highlighting and executing our events, but also highlighting the wealth of organizations and community partners that we have that put things on throughout the year. So from Positive Street Art, City Arts Nashua, Nashua International Sculpture Symposium, Make It Labs, there's so many more that are putting on events throughout the year. What we've worked really hard to do is develop a online calendar that aggregates content from all of those community partners. So if people go to downtownnashua.org and downtownnashua.org/events, they'll find a full lineup of various things that are going on throughout the year. So not only will they find out on our website the things that we do, but they'll also find out all the things that Downtown Nashua has to offer. And part of the objectives that we have is highlighting all of that, because there is a wealth of it, and it's really just a matter of getting that information to folks so that they know and can get engaged.
Excellent.
It's amazing. I get the newsletter via email, and I'm like, wow, they're doing that. That's amazing.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, it's great. It's certainly a great resource.
Okay. We're getting close to the end of the clock here. Is there any messages for the viewers that would be particularly important that you'd like to give for them to let for like safety concerns or such like that?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, we classically, in speaking to citizens, they don't want to bother us. They have issues, but they're like, oh, I don't want to bother the police. The police are busy. Well, of course we're busy, but we provide a service, and you're our customers. We work for you. I don't have the stats for 2017 yet, but from 2016, we made 4,700 arrests, and we answered almost 100,000 calls. And not all those calls were robberies, burglaries, or anything, thank God. That's why we're the safest city in America. 80-90% of those were keep the peace calls, give advice calls, but they were police service calls. So that's the majority of what we do. So, the biggest thing is I can tell the listeners is if you have any question, any issue, call the police.
What's the number?
We'll respond. 594-3500 is the regular business line. Certainly for an emergency, it's 911. But, and we'll come. And, it can be for anything, a neighbor dispute, a loud party, anything. You're not bothering us. That's what we're here for.
And Paul, do you have any messages?
I'd say it's if you see something, say something. If you want something, do something. Engagement and interacting and doing the things we need to do to get the things we want for our community are important. So, if folks are interested in getting engaged with downtown, developing an event or program, partnering with us, selling their art, performing their music, getting engaged is important. And it's those connections, it's those sharing of talents, and just relating with one another that really is one of the strengths of our downtown. It's an environment. It's the heart of the community. It's a place where people can gather to be community, and the police are a huge part of that. And the citizens of Nashua are a huge part of that. And so, coming out, getting involved, getting informed, staying engaged, it's all important. So, um, you know, you say folks, feel like they might be a bother. Folks feel like they might be bored, but go out there and do something and just that's what it's all about.
All right. And just to let our viewers know, we do have the special election for the Board of Education coming up on March 20th. If you're not registered to vote, or if you're not sure if you're registered to vote, you can always check the city clerk's office to register. And we do still have same-day registration. Just make sure you bring your proper documentation. And don't forget on March 20th to vote and learn about each of the candidates so you can make an informed decision. I do want to thank Chief Lavoie
Absolutely, my pleasure.
and Paul Shea for being
David,
here tonight.
Really good to be
It's
here.
going to be a great evening, great summer. It looks like we're going to have a lot of fun. And I want to thank everyone for watching and have a great evening.
Cool. Thanks, Dave.